Hey guys, welcome back to yet another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good day. We are back with day 11 of our 31 Perfect Albums. I am joined again by my illustrious panel. We've got Bill Schuster. How's it going, Bill?
Doing great, Armando. How about yourself?
Doing good for a rainy, cold July day here in Edmonton. We have Mr. Ken Cheshire. How you doing, Ken?
Doing well. Thank you very much.
That's good. And the man of the hour, Mr. Jim Bricker. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, Armando. Happy to be amongst the illustrious panel.
There you go. There you go. Happy to have you here. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going through our 31 perfect albums. Perfect. All killer, no filler. So, we have taken the time to put these lists together, and it's been very painful. Extremely painful. But it's got to be done. So, I will pass the virtual mic down, as I see on my screen, down to Bill. And he'll give us his pick for day 11. It was perfect.
All right. Thank you, sir. I'm going to go a little bit more obscure this time, not completely.
Go for it.
This artist definitely has her fans, but I can't tell you the last time I've heard anyone speak about her. She really was kind of a one-hit wonder, but she's put out music over decades. Lots of great music. This was the album that followed up the one that had her hit single. The hit single was Midnight at the Oasis. And the follow-up album that I'm talking about here was Waitress in a Donut Shop by Maria Muldaur. How this album came into our family, I don't know. I don't think my parents ever told me the story, but at some point in around 74 or 75, one of my parents brought this thing home, and it's been in my life ever since. Just to give you an idea of the kind of people that Maria Muldaur is playing with and what kind of respect she had from other musicians, I'm just want to read off a quick list of some of the artists on this album. Benny Carter, Harry Sweets Edison, Snooky Young, Ray Brown, yes, that Ray Brown, on bass, Jim Gordon, Doc Watson, Merle Watson, David Grisman, Linda Ronstadt, Kate and Anna McGarrigle, Lowell George, Dr. John. I mean, she's not playing with lightweights here. So obviously,
No.
Hello. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
We got some all-time greats from different genres. So, and she matches them. Her voice is a magical instrument. And she's able to do lots of things with it. To have Linda Ronstadt on the album with her is appropriate because I think Maria's voice is in some ways similar to Linda's as far as the range and the ability to tackle multiple genres with it. She's very much not limited. Armando and I have talked about this before, and he was familiar with the song "It Ain't the Meat, It's the Motion." I'm kind of curious. Did you say that got radio play up in Canada, or?
I do believe so. But I remember that one track. I had to do a compilation disc for a DJ at a local college in Toronto. So he asked me for that track. Then he mentioned the name. I'm like, come again? Like what?
Yeah, yeah. I was surprised
What's
you
the
had heard
name
of
of
it.
that track again, Troy? I'm like, oh, it's not the meat, it's the motion. I'm like, I'm glad you said it and not me. You know, that kind of thing. So,
Yeah, which the title that doesn't give an idea of the whole album. I mean, obviously there's a bit of somewhat raunchy, tongue-in-cheek humor there, but
yeah.
the album covers a wide range of songwriters. We got Brickyard Blues by Alan Toussaint. We've got the aforementioned Anna McGarrigle with Cool River. I'm a Woman by Lieber and Stoller. So it's a little bit here, there, and everywhere. You got Skip James with If You Haven't Any Hay. So yeah, really, it's kind of all over the map. It's one of those albums that certain critics love to hate because they expect an artist to stick in a particular box, and it seems to bother them when an artist dares to do more than one thing. Exactly. So they're hard to pin down. I love artists like that, and that's why I love this album so much because she refuses to be boxed. She just does what she wants the way she wants with the players that she wants, and it all works. So yeah, if you've only heard Midnight at the Oasis, no, she's well more than that, and she's still going. So Waitress in a Donut Shop, Maria Muldaur is my next 1974 pick.
Bill, you mentioned Brickyard Blues. Is that the same song Three Dog Night covered?
Yes. Play something sweet, play something mellow, play me some Brickyard Blues. Yeah,
That's it. Cool.
absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be performing again tonight, 9 o'clock. It gets a little blue after that. Just
I promise I won't do Chicken Train.
Once was
crap.
enough.
oh, why
Ladies and
not?
gentlemen,
Do Chicken
that's right.
Train. Go ahead. No, that is an interesting choice. It's a good one. It's a good one. All right. Over
I'm
to
loving your choices, Bill. There's stuff in there that I had never stumbled across in my
Yeah.
life. I'm looking forward to listening to these.
Some of my later choices you may not want to listen to. We'll see as we go.
You haven't seen my list, Holmes. So
Fair.
All right. Over to Ken.
Okay, we've showed a lot of love for Crime of the Century so far in this series.
Yes, we have.
So I'm going to take a little left turn when it comes to Rick Davies and Roger Hodgson. I'm going to go with Breakfast in America from 1979. Whereas I also love Crime of the Century. This album came out at a time when I was playing in a band, and we did a fair amount of covers, and we tried to cover several songs off this album because where I was, it was being played so much on the AOR radio and of course, you know, some of the regular top 40s, because it had 4 really great singles off that album. And of course it reached #1 in the US, and one of the few of my choices that actually did reach #1. Their most commercially successful album, and I do emphasize the commercial part. But I think any album that I think draws in a new audience, even if it's not their best album, I still think it's a good thing. Because if 1/10 of all the population are like me, you hear something you really like, you go check it out. And as far as a band, you check the rest of their catalog out. So that's good for the band as far as I'm concerned. And I know Jim and I have talked several times of some of our favorite bands that we discovered on, you know, not exactly the highlight of their career, but it caused us to go down that rabbit hole. And I recommend rabbit holes, you know, because you just never know what you're going to get. You know, the album starts off with Gone Hollywood, Logical Song, Goodbye Stranger, Breakfast in America. I mean, this is another one of those albums that if they were to release a greatest hits double album, this would be the entirety of one of the albums. Like I said, to me, it's not their best, but it's perfect in the way that, like I said, it brought a whole lot of people to Supertramp that maybe they only heard maybe a couple of songs. They probably only knew Give a Little Bit,
yep.
or something like that, which I was familiar with. And so it's like, oh, that's Supertramp. Oh, I know that other song, so I'm gonna go buy the album. In which we're all of the generation, and this is one thing that I think the younger generations are, they're losing. It's like we hear a song, we buy the album. You know, we don't just stream the one song. How many times have we bought an album? We take it home, we put it on the record player, and then we just kind of sit and read the album covers and the sleeve notes over and over and over again.
That's me.
Yeah,
Yep.
and it's we learn about other musicians, we learn about producers, and all this kind of stuff, and it was just such a wonderful time. Not to mention actually going to a physical record store and just going through the stacks,
Yep.
shuffling through the stacks. So this is my Supertramp contribution to the conversation.
It's a hell of a contribution.
I'd like to point out not only was that the number one album for them, that was the best-selling album globally for the year of 1979,
Oh, okay.
which is pretty mind-boggling that
It is.
came from, they weren't obscure, but they were nowhere near that level.
Right.
And so no wonder they had a hard time, took so long with Famous Last Words trying to
Yeah.
follow up that level of success. But yeah,
Well,
it's,
it's got to be said too. They were with two quick points. Those are my famous last words. It's got to be pointed out too that when they were on the tour for Crime of the Century, they were under pressure, no pun intended, from A&M Records to come up with a follow-up right away to Crime of the Century. So they basically ran in the studio like a week after the tour and started writing, or maybe they were, I believe they were possibly writing on the tour for the follow-up album. So they had no time to breathe, like to decompress and just come up with what they thought were good ideas. And Breakfast in America is a prime example of a group that had a critical success a la Crime of the Century and a commercial success with Breakfast in America. Right? I mean, fantastic album.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic choice.
Yeah.
Not too much of a rant, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
There you
Good.
go. There you go. Like your shirt, Bill. Okay, over to Jim.
All right. This is yesterday's video. I talked about Stevie Wonder and made the comment where he had, like 4 albums in the 70s that could have easily made a perfect album list, and you can make a solid argument. This artist for today, very much the same. And my pick is from 1975, Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. To say that they were on a tear is an understatement. And, it's amazing that Wish You Were Here kind of came out as cohesive as it did. If you listen to one of the recent re-releases of Dark Side of the Moon, where they have like one of the concerts from, I think, 1974 when they were still touring Dark Side of the Moon, you had pieces of the show, like the opening set, were songs that had not been released yet. Check me on this, guys, but I think it was an early version of Shine On You Crazy Diamond, an early version of Dogs, and an early version of Sheep. Is that right, Armando?
Could be because it could very well be because the early name, like an early Dogs.
Like
The original
Raving and
title for
Drooling.
Dogs was called Raving and Drooling. So they used that. It went under that title. So yeah, you're right. Sorry.
and
We
you've
don't
got
walk
to
me
be
around about
crazy.
saying it, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Sorry, Bill?
That's it. And you've got to be crazy was the matter.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, You've Got to Be Crazy was Dogs, and Raving and Drooling was Sheep.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is that one of the pieces that they were playing live at that point was Shine On You Crazy Diamond, which was one like 22-minute piece. And my guess is that they were toying around with putting these 3 pieces on their next album, but they didn't. They saved what became Dogs and what became Sheep, and they took Shine On You Crazy Diamond and split it in 2.
Mhm.
and that sort of became the bookends for the Wish You Were Here album. And it's a brilliantly, it became a brilliantly conceived piece of work once they decided to focus on the effect that the music industry had on them and on members of the band, especially Syd Barrett. So you've got the whole, odes to Syd. You've got just the whole Welcome to the Machine and Have a Cigar, which is about the abuses of the music industry. Wish You Were Here was just, kind of this unbelievably beautiful ode to kind of innocence and still wanting to hold on to the things conceived of as beautiful and perfect from the past. And the whole album just has this cohesion, perfect flowing in and out from the first note to the last. I mean, they constructed it's like a beautiful work that starts from the first note to the last. And how they got there from, these early performances and from household objects, which they were just kind of horsing around in the studio with, like, microphoning glasses of water and hitting spoons against them and stuff and tweaking the sonics on it. I mean, this could have turned out to be, like a really bad version of Echoes, if you think about it. But they had all the right ingredients in place to produce kind of a miraculous record. And it's not a particularly cheery album, but I don't think the perfection can be denied. So Wish You Were Here, Pink Floyd. Boom.
There we
Yeah.
go.
No, it's a good one. I always kind of I always look at Wish You Were Here as the icing on the cake that was Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just another, they just went to another level, right? Not that they could improve on Dark Side of the Moon. I don't even think they wanted to improve on Dark Side of the Moon. I'm just saying that I do like Wish You Were Here quite a bit.
I think Armando, you and I both picked that as our top album of 1975.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Easily.
it begs the question, what would have happened? Like, I'll put this out there. If they did keep and then I'll get to my pick. So much for not going on and on. But if they did keep the Shine On You Crazy Diamond suite as one piece for side one, how do you think that would have fared with the rest of the album? Do you think that they did the right thing by splitting it up, by bookending it, or should they have kept it together for just one side of the album?
I think they made the right call. To me, it just provides, like we've said, these bookends,
Yeah.
and makes it for a cohesive piece of work. Whereas if you had just left it as one thing, the album would have become, Shine On You Crazy Diamond and everything else. Maybe
Yeah,
very
yeah,
much
yeah.
like in the vein where 2112 is, one side is awesome and then there's that other side.
One thing I
Perfect,
just
perfect example. That's right. Okay, yeah, no, not that there's
Just
anything wrong with
noticed.
Passage to Bangkok and Twilight Zone and whatever, but
Well,
just we don't want to offend any Rush fans out there, and they're out there. But no, I hear what you're saying. We must carry on, ladies and gentlemen. My pick for day 11 is the third time that this band has appeared in this list. Is Queen with News of the World, released October 28th, 1977. Big surprise, I have Queen on my list. This album is very interesting. Roger Taylor has described it as one of the most hard-rocking albums that they ever did. 11 tracks in total, just around 35 minutes, very short in comparison to what they had released previously with A Day at the Races and A Night at the Opera. They gave themselves 2 months to write, record, and release this album. That was it, 2 months. And it pushed them to put out a very aggressive sounding album. You have, the lead off track, We Will Rock You, where the only instrumentation on that album is the guitar. On that track, sorry, is the guitar. Only one coffee, guys, forgive me. Next up, you have We Are the Champions, the double A single, which was a double A single done by Elektra Records, unbeknownst to the band. We Are the Champions dates back to 1975 for a Night at the Opera, but when it was written, it didn't fit on with the theme of the album. Just like Brighton Rock was written on Sheer Heart Attack, Brighton Rock was written for Queen too, but it didn't fit in with what was going on with Queen 2. Then you have the blistering Sheer Heart Attack. Okay, that was written for the album of the same name. 3 minutes and change of just breakneck tempo, heavy guitar, drumming, kick right to the balls. I'm sorry, it's really aggressive. The poetic, beautiful, All Dead, All Dead. Beautiful vocals by Brian May, which is dedicated to his cat that passed away when he was a kid. Spread Your Wings, very anthemic track that was released as a single, written by John Deacon, reached only number 39 in the charts in the US. The powerful Fight from the Inside, which, Roger Taylor composition, the second of two. At this point, the band were sort of, the songwriting credits were kind of becoming more even in terms of who contributed what to the albums. And this is Fight from the Inside is one of Slash's, from Guns N' Roses, one of his favorite tracks from the album. Get Down Make Love starts off side 2, and we won't go into that, what it really means. We all know what it means, okay? It's bombast, it's heavy, it's just aggressive as all hell. Sleeping on the Sidewalk, the blues track, which was written in about 20 minutes, and just, you can just imagine them running through the track, through the session just to record the bed track for this. They're all in the studio together. They're all facing one another, laying down the bed track for this. Just amazing. Fantastic, blues guitar from Brian May. The flamenco influenced Who Needs You, just a whimsical track in its arrangement, but really, really tasty. I hate to use that phrase, but it's true. And the song basically says, I'm done with you. You piss me off enough. You treat me like shit. I'm done. Get out. I'm moving on. It's Late, the track that was cut down from 6 minutes and 30 some odd seconds to 3 minutes and 30 seconds, which is done in 3 scenes. Just a hell of a track. Just classic Queen. Classic Queen. And it ends off with the beautiful, exquisite jazz flavored My Melancholy Blues. And again, you can just imagine listening to this track. You're sitting in a piano bar, and Freddie Mercury could be on the piano, just bashing on the piano and just sort of singing his heart out, and you're entranced, right? You're entranced, and like Roger Taylor does a nice touch on the drums with the brushes, and it's a very cerebral way to end the album. This album for me is perfection, and there's a story that goes with this album. The Sex Pistols were in the next studio recording here, Never Mind the Bollocks, and Sid Vicious stumbled into the recording, into the studio where Queen were, and according to Roger Taylor, Sid was a moron. He was an idiot, right? So he says to Sid Vicious says to Freddie Mercury, so you're really bringing ballet to the masses, eh? Like, you don't, like, garbling and just burping, whatever, just he's drunk out of his mind. And Freddie Mercury says, Mr. Ferocious, well, we're doing our best, dear. And he grabs him by the jacket and throws him out the door. Like, he couldn't stand him, right? And there was a story that they had the Sex Pistols in the studio listening to Sheer Heart Attack, the track. And Freddie Mercury said, to Johnny Rotten, why don't you sing back up on this? He goes, we can't be singing with you guys. Like, you're the, you're the establishment. We're anti-establishment. He's like, oh, well, please get out of here. Like, come on. Like, it's ridiculous, right? So I think this album encompasses a lot of different musical styles. And I think it does it perfectly. Like this is what Queen is all about, this album, in terms of the different musical styles and how they all made it work so seamlessly. So that's my pick for day 11.
And it has an awesome cover.
I was just going to comment on that.
Yes, the science fiction cover. Yes, yes, yes.
I would grab it here, but you're going to flash it on the screen. So
Of course. Of
Right.
course.
Is that the
Yeah.
Frank Kelly Freeze that did
That's right.
the cover?
That's
Yeah.
right. And the comment was the fact that a band is willing to have themselves be killed on the front cover of their own album, even in cartoon form, right? Yeah. And it was Roger Taylor's idea to have this as he contacted the artist and said, can you make a mock-up of this, modify this and put us in there? Oh, no problem. And perfect for, and we're talking about critical success and commercial success for albums. As much as A Night at the Opera was a critical success for the band, like in Australia and in the UK and America, it got them noticed. But this was their commercial breakthrough,
Sure.
So
And that was 78?
77. Yeah.
77. Okay.
Yeah, October 28th. So there you have it, guys. Day 11 of our 31 perfect albums. I want to thank Jim, Ken, and Bill for joining me on this episode and this adventure, because it has been an adventure for all of us. Please, again, in the comments below, please put your pick for whatever album that you think is perfect. Doesn't matter what genre. It could be even like, a Raffi album. Who cares? It doesn't, like a children's album. It doesn't matter. Whatever you would like to listen to, okay? Even Liberace's greatest hits. It doesn't matter. Music is it's very personal, and no one should, come down on anyone or begrudge anyone for their choices. So no judgments here. Just give us your opinion if you'd like. And again, we would like to start a dialogue on this, right? Because music is all about learning and experiences. Right? So,
But I think we should just put a
Awesome
fair
thing.
warning out there
Mm.
that if someone does list a Taylor Swift album in
That's
their
fine.
perfect comments in the comments, okay, because I was going to say there's some among us who are just pretty darn touchy
No.
about Miss Swift and just wanted to provide some guidance for the audience. That's all.
fine, red, 1989, fine.
Okay, ladies and
Dang it.
gentlemen, I will go on record as saying if you want to put a Taylor Swift album, that is just fine. She is not my cup of tea. I'm sorry, she never was and she never will be, but that is my opinion, right? So again, there are no judgments here. And again, we would like to get your comments on, doing just as a quick note, doing these shows on your own is quite challenging. And I've done my best as someone who is not a music professional about music or anyone who's an expert, but having these three individuals helping me with these shows and having these discussions makes it that much more easier for me to do these episodes and bring this content to you. So again, I'm going to thank all the three of you for helping me out with this. It's been fun. It's going to continue to be fun. And we'll see you back here for episode 12 of our 31 Perfect Albums. So please look after yourselves and one another, and we'll see you very soon. Bye for now.